Welcome back to RV News, your trusted source for the latest and most detailed updates on the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, and the unfolding revaluation process that could be life-changing for millions of currency holders around the world. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Today's video is going to be one of the most important we've ever released because we are diving deep into fresh intel, insider reports, and real banking updates about the RV in 2025. The headline today is jaw-dropping. A 25,000 Iraqi dinar note being reported as having an exchange value of $85,750. That's right. If these numbers are correct, and if the intel being circulated through both banking contacts and private redemption sources is legitimate, then we could be on the verge of witnessing the most historic wealth transfer of our lifetime. To begin, let's unpack the rumor itself. Multiple sources, including private banking contacts in the U.S., whispers from Middle Eastern financial circles, and chatter among wealth managers tied to global exchange centers, are pointing to an exchange value for the Iraqi dinar that places a single 25K note at $85,750. Doing the math, this aligns with a per dinar value in the ballpark of $3.43. Now, those of you who've been following RV news for years will remember that such numbers are not unrealistic in the historical context, since the dinar used to trade above $3 before the Gulf Wars and sanctions destroyed its international value. The return to such a rate would not be unprecedented, but what makes this particular moment historic is that it's not just speculation anymore. We are seeing clear indicators from banking infrastructure, digital systems, and financial policies that preparations for this shift are actively being finalized. One of the strongest pieces of evidence comes from the international banking sector itself. Reports are emerging that Tier 1 banks, including major U.S. institutions like Chase, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America, as well as European powerhouses like HSBC and Deutsche Bank, have all updated their internal currency screens. While the public exchange rates remain the same on Forex and on bank teller systems for now, insiders claim that the internal back-end systems, where rates are tested and pre-programmed before going live, have been updated with significantly higher values for the Iraqi dinar. According to these same sources, the exchange system is now in a state of readiness where the flip of a switch could activate the public RV rate. In addition, some redemption centers reportedly conducted trial runs with select clients, confirming transaction protocols, security checks, and verification processes. The conclusion drawn by those on the inside is that everything is fully operational, and the timing of the release is now dependent on geopolitical green lights rather than technical readiness. Now let's talk about the economics behind the figure of $85,750 for a 25K note. A rate of $3.43 per dinar would instantly make Iraq one of the strongest currencies in the Middle East, behind perhaps only the Kuwaiti dinar, which trades at around $3.25 to $3.35. Considering Iraq's massive oil reserves, its reconstruction contracts, and its growing partnerships with China, the US, and Europe, such a valuation can be justified. In fact, many economists argue that Iraq's resources support an even higher value if managed correctly. But the bigger question remains: can the Central Bank of Iraq and the global financial system handle the shock of such an immediate revaluation? From the intel we are gathering, the answer is yes, but only because this plan has been in motion for years, with structured payouts, staggered redemptions, and carefully monitored exchange procedures. In other words, while you may see headlines like 25K note worth $85,750, the reality is that the system is designed to release liquidity in a controlled fashion to prevent hyperinflation or market instability. Bank contacts in the U.S. are stressing that there will likely be structured payouts, especially for those exchanging very large sums. For example, if someone holds millions of dinar, they may be offered a base exchange rate with the option of higher contract rates if they agree to long-term payout programs. These structured agreements could involve interest-bearing accounts, humanitarian project commitments, or investment vehicles monitored by global financial authorities. This approach ensures that not everyone withdraws massive liquidity all at once, which could destabilize both the banks and the economy. However, for average holders with smaller amounts, like 1, 2, or 325K notes, the process may be much simpler. You walk into the designated exchange center, present your currency, complete verification procedures, and walk out with a receipt and an account balance reflecting your newly exchanged funds. That's why the example of a single 25K note equating to $85,750 is so important. It illustrates just how significant even a small position in this investment could become. Let's not overlook the role of international alliances and agreements. Iraq has been positioning itself on the world stage with deliberate precision. Over the past 2 years, they've expanded oil contracts with both Western and Eastern powers, signed on to infrastructure projects, and taken steps to stabilize their internal banking system. At the same time, Iraq has been working with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to ensure compliance with global financial standards. What this means for us is that the revaluation isn't simply an Iraqi decision, it's a coordinated global event. Intel suggests that multiple currencies are lined up to revalue or readjust in close succession, with the Vietnamese Dong being a key player alongside the dinar. Some sources claim the Dong could come in at anywhere between $2.30 and $4, making it another life-changing opportunity for holders. The synchronization of these currencies is believed to be tied to a larger global reset plan, designed to balance out inequities and realign financial power across multiple regions. One fascinating element of the intel surfacing right now is the emphasis on security and non-disclosure. Many of the individuals leaking this information are doing so under strict conditions. Bank employees have been reportedly briefed on how to handle the flood of clients once the RV goes public, and many have signed NDAs forbidding them from disclosing the new rates until official release. This level of secrecy suggests just how sensitive the process is. It also explains why we see conflicting reports in the public sphere. Some sources exaggerate, others downplay, but the reality is that tight operational security is essential when trillions of dollars are about to change hands overnight. That said, when consistent reports from separate, unrelated banking insiders all point to the same range of values for the dinar, the credibility of the intel grows exponentially. The repeated figure of a 25K note being worth $85,750 is not a coincidence. It is a signal. Let's also address the skepticism. For years, critics of the RV have labeled it a scam, insisting that the dinar will never revalue and that currency holders are wasting their time. However, history is filled with examples of currencies that collapsed and later regained their value once stability and resources returned. The Kuwaiti dinar after the Gulf War is a prime example, as is the German mark after World War II. What skeptics fail to acknowledge is Iraq's unique position. With one of the largest oil reserves in the world, growing political stability, and global powers invested in its recovery, Iraq is not just another failed state with worthless paper money. It is a strategic hub for energy and trade, and its currency revaluation is not only possible but necessary to reflect its true economic strength. That's why banks worldwide are preparing behind the scenes, because they know that when the switch flips, the demand for processing exchanges will be overwhelming. Looking at the timing, why 2025? Many analysts believe that 2025 was always the target window. With the post-COVID recovery, geopolitical realignments, and shifts in U.S. leadership, the groundwork for a reset was laid in 2022 and 2023. By 2024, we saw Iraq intensify its currency reform efforts, including deleting zeros from their internal accounting systems, modernizing digital payment infrastructure, and reducing dependence on the U.S. dollar for international trade. All of these steps were prerequisites for a full revaluation. And now, in 2025, the evidence suggests we are finally at the endgame. Intel providers claim that the Central Bank of Iraq has already printed new lower denomination notes, which will be rolled out post-RV to support everyday transactions. These notes are said to be ready for distribution the moment the rate goes live. Once that happens, the 25K notes will become obsolete for daily commerce, but will retain their massive value for exchange purposes. This transition period is critical as it allows the Iraqi economy to absorb the change without spiraling into confusion. Another important detail is the role of redemption centers. Reports indicate that thousands of private exchange locations have been quietly established across the US and Europe, separate from standard retail bank branches. These centers are equipped with advanced currency verification machines, high-level security, and staff trained specifically for RV exchanges. The reason is that traditional bank branches simply cannot handle the expected volume, nor the security concerns.